Hey horror fans, Boardell back with you. On this video I'm going to be giving a few spoiler-free thoughts for the new Fear Street movie. So Fear Street Prom Queen, which is available on Netflix now. It is the fourth part of the Fear Street movie franchise based on the R.L. Stine novels. This movie adapted from his 1992 novel, Prom Queen. It follows on from the 2021 trilogy, also on Netflix, but it does feel like a more disconnected sequel to those movies, even though it is set in Shadyside. Small Easter eggs, there's very few things that links it to that movie. Actually, this will be mostly spoiler free, but I will return with Madison Estes, who some of you will know has been on the channel before, and we will be doing a full-on spoiler review. The movie is directed by Matt Palmer, don't know much about him. The younger cast includes Indian Fowler, who plays Laurie Granger, and she is a little bit of like the typical bookish outcast in the school. Senior prom coming up, Laurie decides it's time to break the mould and step outside of her comfort zone. So she randomly enters herself into the prom queen competition and challenges popular mean girl Tiffany. Fun fact, Straza made history becoming the youngest actress to play Matilda on stage.
They never stood a chance, they were written that way, innocent victims of their story.
Laurie is encouraged to enter the prom queen contest by super religious and goody-goody teacher played by Lily Taylor, who I really like, who probably was cast because she's known for being in the first Conjuring movie. A lot of the movie takes place over the night itself as contestants start to get killed off by this killer in like a cloak and a mask. And it's funny because I was getting a mixture of Squid Game vibes, see what they did there with the Netflix property, and also the orgy characters from Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. I never thought I would mention those two things in the same breath. Pretty lame, this one. Yeah, it's I would say it's the weakest of the Fear Street movie so far, quite easily. It was just very flat, and there was a lot of like slasher cliches. This one is set in 1988, and it just steals from a lot of slasher movies, also from Carrie. Another person I know online has compared it to like Heathers, but very Heathers light. I can see that. It's one thing to do a pastiche of horror movies, but you also have to have your own identity as a movie. And this just felt like a cheap sort of checklist and grab bag, and it was very much a B-grade style plot. There wasn't a lot of thought, if any, put into it. I thought the characters were pretty one-note and bland and not very interesting to watch. I can't really say if it was the cast. I want to say it was more the writing, because the cast I thought were fine. You've got some good character actors in like the older members of the cast, so Catherine Waterston, who I enjoy also in the movie. The younger cast I've not really seen in anything, or I haven't seen in much anyway, so I can't really comment too much on whether they've been good in other things, and I wouldn't say they were bad really. Like, I don't think the acting was that bad, it's just the characters felt very flat. Laurie's best friend was annoying, bar one scene. The DJ was very fucking annoying and stereotypical. The direction wasn't really there, like there just wasn't a lot of spark to the movie and a lot of style. Very basic in, as I said, most of the movie is set in this one location, which is fine. It looks like a typical kind of school gymnasium. Some moments where it could have done with a little bit more colour or a little bit more flair. I did like the blurry old school retro video shots and footage filming the characters though, that was a really cool touch. One of the better stylistic choices. The mystery element of it just wasn't very interesting, and the twist I know for a fact has been changed. Actually, someone got a little bit too carried away with predicting part of the twist the other night on stream. Sorry, Cindy, in advance. Cindy's gonna be right, damn it. Ah, screw you, Cindy, I got it right.
Haha, yeah. Then they're gonna be on their way down. Do the worm! Do the worm!
You read the paper.
Yeah, suck it. I do read the paper.
You want me to do anything?
Be a crab! Fight the worm!
The twist was kind of random and a bit weak and a little bit forced, and I'll go more into that when we discuss it in the spoiler review. But I just guessed, without saying any names, that they wouldn't cast such and such person if they weren't meant to be the killer. So I have an idea of who the killer should have been, which would have been more interesting and fun, but I'll wait for the spoiler review with me and Madison for that one. The kills themselves were a bit hit and miss for me. I quite enjoyed some of them, but I also thought the problem with them was how predictable they were and how telegraphed some of the kills were. Like, you could really map out this film roughly and see where it was going all the time. There was some practical effects and some good splatter effects, so I definitely enjoyed that. But at the same time, there were also some CGI moments that felt a bit jarring. Sometimes it's best to just go with one or the other, but this, as I said, took me out of it a bit. So overall, the kills were fine, and there were a couple of standout ones, but there were also some weaker ones. When I saw the 90-minute runtime, I was quite happy because so many modern movies are overlong, and especially a slasher movie like this doesn't need to be overlong. They're done with another 10 minutes at least. I think it just would have made the kills a bit more meaningful and some of the characters a bit more meaningful. Like, they didn't really make the characters stand out or the big moments stand out. One of the highlights of the movie is then when it's racking up near the end of the prom night scene and things are just kind of going berserk. And that's one of the few scenes that I really enjoyed in the movie, because it's like it just embraced really maybe with just being a fun switch your brain off style movie rather than just going through the motions, which it had been. So I actually quite enjoyed how bonkers that scene got, but there just weren't enough good scenes like that in the movie. I don't think this movie is as terrible as some people are saying. It just felt very flat, very by the numbers, kind of dull overall. That's the problem. Sometimes if you get a more crazy, insane movie, such a train wreck, it's actually quite entertaining, or it's a bit more fun to talk about. At least it gives you something more to latch on. This doesn't really give you a whole lot. The music was pretty good, although pretty typical of what you get in like these 80s set movies, but the soundtrack I quite enjoyed. I was a bit miffed they didn't have Heaven is a Place on Earth, so I could have a cheesy diva like sing along to that, because that was in the trailer. It's pretty lame. I think some of the reactions have been a bit extreme. Some of those people maybe haven't seen truly bottom of the barrel horror movies. Bland and by the numbers. Disappointing movie overall. I can't see myself revisiting this one very often. So thanks for listening, guys. Let me know what you think of the new Fear Street movie in the comments below. Please keep it spoiler free, just your general impressions, because as I said, there will be a spoiler review coming up on the channel. But thanks, guys. Take care. Keep watching horror movies, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.